Hello, friends. Welcome to the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Julie Boyer, and today I'm welcoming a longtime friend to the podcast. Hello, Ashley.
Hi, it's so good to see you.
Oh my gosh, it's like this reunion. And the irony is now we both live on the West Coast. You're just in the States and I'm in Canada. Ashley and I have known each other for I don't know how many years, at least 6 or 7 years.
hmm
Ashley Vincent she's the founder of Ashley's Light. And I love that she calls herself Earthly Tinkerbell and a light filled business coach. Oh, so
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
She's truly an expert in human design. She's all about the crystals and your angels and everything else that's connected to the spiritual and the holistic and the life changing. Before Ashley tells her story, I want to tell a little bit about how we connected and we met. We were introduced years ago through mutual friends in our USANA business. At the time, Ashley was building a USANA business, I think part time, along with, I think she had like 5 or 6 other gigs that she was doing. But we lived around the corner from each other back outside of Toronto. And so I would give Ashley rides to events and stuff like that. And she and my daughter got along super well and loved her energy. And then she'll tell you the story of how she now lives on the West Coast in California, living her absolute dream life. And I can say that like with 100% certainty. I mean, it seems to be, it really, when I say it like that, it seems like it's all happened really, really fast. I don't know. Do you feel like that? Do you feel
It
like these past few years have been crazy?
it does. And when people actually ask me, "How long have you been in California for?" I'm like, "Oh, it's been about 7 years now," which does not seem like it because every day still feels like a dream. I wake up and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I live here? This is my life." And time flies by. Every week I realize, "Oh, it's Friday. Oh, it's Friday. Oh, it's Friday." But it's been about 7 years since I've been here.
Which means I've known you for a lot more than
I
7
think
years
it's
then.
close to 10,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Mhm,
Yeah, no, I was
mhm.
thinking about it. I was like, I think you knew my daughter when she was really little. I mean, I forget too, I've been living on the West Coast now for over 3 years, right?
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, you just left like a year ago. I was like, no, it's been over 3 years. I think we all like lost a bunch of time
We
over the
just
past.
lose time,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. So tell me a little bit about, this bubbly young lady with all these big dreams, living in her mom's house, working 4 jobs. How do you get to California?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
in Canada, because you're in Canada, you're Canadian. So how do you get to
Mhm.
California for 7 years?
Yeah. Well, I started USANA, and that's really what changed my life because I was for the first time introduced to women who get me. And for so long in my life, I felt like no one understood me because I was so passionate and driven to transform my life to something beyond my wildest dreams. And everyone in my life, like family and friends at the time, were like, "What? You're crazy. Like, who are you to want to do all these things?" And no one understood. So when I started with USANA, I was like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. People who really get me, people who really are interested in growth as much as I am, people who really want to live a life that they couldn't have even imagined of years ago, right? So beginning with that company started changing everything for me because I started meeting people who were so similar to me. So then coincidentally along the journey, I took a trip to California. I've been hair modeling for like 10 years. And at the time, so that was about 7 years ago, I got flown out to California to model in a hair show. And of course, there were USANA people out here in California because there's people all over the world. How incredible. I was able to connect with like minded people in a totally new place. So I met up with some of them while I was here, and they were like, "Ooh, you're single? We should set you up with this guy, and you would love him. And you guys are so alike, yada, yada, yada." And I was like, "Ooh, a guy who would also understand how crazy I am because I had just gotten out of a highly toxic, emotionally abusive relationship. And that guy did not understand anything that I was into. So, of course, I was so excited by this idea of someone who had similar interests and was also into growth and development. So, fast forward, long story short, we met at a USANA convention, and then I decided to move to California just on a whim. Like totally on a whim, no plan, no job, no money, no nothing. All I had was my USANA business, which I wasn't bringing in that much money with at the time, but I decided to take a chance and just come out here. And I said
Wow.
goodbye to everyone as if I wasn't going to come back for a while because, well, it wasn't really allowed for me to do, right? And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, I'm going to be there a long time. I'm single, so I will just stay there until I'm married because, well, I can't cross the border because that's not allowed. I'm just going to stay there and I'm going to find someone. Like I just knew. I've always had this knowing my whole life. When I feel called to do something and it feels right, I just know it's going to work out however it's meant to. So
Oh,
sure enough, I came out to California, 2 suitcases, no job, no money. Everything's working out miraculously for me. I'm staying in people's places for free. They're taking me on trips to San Francisco, like meeting the most beautiful people. I connected with that guy that the people tried to set me up with in USANA. Sure enough, we got married. I then became a US resident. Of course, at this point, we are no longer married, but it all worked out so that I still was able to stay in the United States. Do I wish that that was how it happened? No, but do I trust that that was how it was supposed to happen? Yeah, I do believe that that was just the journey that I was supposed to take.
oh my goodness. Okay, that was a lot in like 3 minutes. I love it. Um, oh goodness. I love what you said about you just have this knowing, like when you know something, you just figure it's all going to work out. And that's powerful. That power of intuition and trust. So is this, you grew up like this? Did you develop this ability? I'm just totally curious because most people go their entire life without trusting their intuition.
hmm I feel like I always kind of had it, but of course it was pushed under the rug because no one trusted me, nor did they trust my ideas or my dreams or my visions. And so as a younger child, all you know really is your surroundings, right? Your family and like those you go to school with, those who are predominantly the leading forces in your life. So, of course, I was taught to not really trust that and like, oh, that's a silly idea. Oh, that's a crazy thought. Oh, that doesn't make sense, Ashley. Like, I wanted to be a runway model when I was in grade 5 or grade 6. Like, I stood up in front of my class at school, pretty much getting ridiculed, being like, I'm going to be a model when I grow up, when everyone else was like, I'm going to be a doctor or a veterinarian. So, everyone in my life kind of always thought I was crazy. And so, I kind of hid this knowing, I hid this intuitive connection that I had because it just didn't feel right when no one else supported me until I got older. And really, I would say, like, USANA was the catapult. It's like a light bulb moment went off for me one day when I saw someone online. Her name is Sabrina. She was out in the middle of the day doing yoga, walking her dog at the park. And I was like, wow. There is another way to life. This opens my eyes to see that I don't have to be doing a job that I don't love. I don't have to be stifling my dreams and desires. Like, there is another way. So it really kind of was from that moment since I got into a conversation with her that I began to trust myself more and more and lean into this knowing that if I had a desire, that meant that it was able to come into fruition into my life.
If I had desire, that meant that it was able to come into fruition in my life. Oh, yes, Ashley, so good. Such wisdom already. And we do spend often so much time in our lives like squelching our desires and squelching our desire to be ourselves and to express ourselves. Even with, as you said, of hair modeling, I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like you're like, yeah, I do hair modeling. I was like, I don't really know what that is, but that was so cool that, you introduced me to that, like as a different way. One of the ways that you were expressing yourself, you're like, let's go crazy. Let's do neat stuff. And you were letting other artists, right, express themselves through your hair. Oh, such a
Yeah.
fun part of your story. So,
Mhm.
okay. So now I want to get to the meat of kind of how you got to the Ashley today, who's like totally transformed, totally living authentically, and who I just adore just seeing you on social because that's how we see each other most today.
Yay.
So your marriage does not work out in the traditional sense, but you ended up amicably parting, and now you're staying in the United States because that's the right thing for you,
Mhm.
and you're staying there, with your green card. And now what? Like, what are you going to do to be able to support yourself to make this work? Because now you're on your own again, right?
Mhm. Well, now I have the most supportive, loving, kindest everything boyfriend who I live with. And that makes things just feel so much more at ease and more peaceful and more joyful and more blissful. But I have this all within myself. So if I was to be solely alone, it's like I'm so fulfilled in my life. I've created a business in a very short amount of time
Mm.
online. I really went all in June 2020. Like the lockdown for me was the greatest experience of my life up until this point because it really forced me to focus and to really get down to business and really tap into me and what I truly wanted at this point, which was to coach and to lead and to guide and to help people transform their lives. So I really dove headfirst into that and have since created quite a thriving business, which I now get to run online from anywhere in the world that I desire.
Oh, and isn't that the dream, right? To be able to work from anywhere and to do things that bring your heart so much joy.
Hmm.
So, but when you met your partner, like your current partner, I know you guys are so cute and you're totally in love. It's
Yeah.
adorable. But what were you doing at that time? Like, were you just working part-time jobs, whatever it could? I know you weren't not really focused on your Usana business anymore. I know that was kind of a different chapter in your life. And just to say, like, and that's okay. You know what I love about network marketing is that you'll get what you need from it. And some of us will stay around for a really long time and make a career of it. And other of us will get these beautiful gifts that you've mentioned from that time you did in USANA and then move on to other ways to express your beautiful gifts in so many ways. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So before so what, like, were you working a couple jobs? Were you doing the modeling? Like, how were you making it work? Because you weren't, as far as I remember, you weren't making any money coaching yet. So
Mm-mm.
what was that like?
Yeah. So, how to piece this so it makes sense? While I was in USANA, I saw a woman speak on stage, Jen Groover. And Jen Groover to me was this example of everything that I could be and everything that I could do and everything that I desired to do. Speak on stage in front of thousands of people, write a book, transform people's lives. So I carried her along my journey, along my years, kind of in the back of my mind. Like, ooh, I want to be like a Jen Groover when I grow up. I was already grown up, but not really in terms of where I was at in my career. So I kept that in the back of my mind. While I was in California, after my divorce, after we split, I struggled huge. Like living in Los Angeles is not easy. My ex husband at the time was supporting me. Well, then we split. Obviously, he's not going to be supporting me, right? So I was really trying to get a job and like the doors were closing. Every job I applied for was not calling or I would interview and it didn't work out. I remember even I was so close to getting a job working for Lululemon and they're like, we would like to hire you, but just not yet. And maybe in a few months, I was like, wow, this is so fascinating. Like, no doors are opening for me right now. So I decided to go back home with a very thought out plan. Okay. I was introduced to this company called the Detox Market. They sell non toxic skincare, beauty, makeup, all the things. They are in Los Angeles and Toronto. And I was like, how perfect. I could work for them in Los Angeles. Of course, they weren't hiring in Los Angeles, but they were hiring in Toronto. And I was like, God, there's literally nothing happening in LA right now. So here's my master plan. I'm a manifester in human design. So I just get the ish done. I was like, I'm gonna start working for the detox market in Toronto. They didn't know this, but here we are. I'm going to start working for the detox market in Toronto, show them my amazingness, and then I'm going to come back to Los Angeles with the detox market. I had it all planned out. So went home, started a retail job, making $14 an hour. People thought I was out of my absolute mind. I was how old? In my late 20s. They're like, you're making as much as like a high school person right now. I said, trust me, I have a plan. I stayed there for 7 months. So I say I had a little interruption between living in LA. Stayed there for 7 months. The owner flew out to Toronto. I sat him down and was like, here's what I want. I would like to apply for this PR media position in LA. I studied media at school. So I'm qualified. I want it. And he was like, well, I don't really feel like you're qualified for it. And he said, but I have another potential for you. I'm opening a brand new store in Santa Monica. Do you think that you could run this store? I said, absolutely. He started laughing in my face. Literally, he burst into laughter because he's like, Ashley, you've never done anything like this before. Like, what makes you think that you could do this? I said, just watch. So he trusted me, Sure enough, 7 months later, I'm back in Los Angeles. I open up a brand new store for the detox market in Santa Monica. It becomes like the number one grossing store out of all the stores they had. And it was like, booyah, I told you, just watch. This is what I could do. So I was working in retail this next go around coming back into LA. And that's what was keeping me going. It was enabling me to pay my
Wow.
rent. It allowed me to get a car. Like this retail job was what was keeping me going.
Oh, actually, I have chills because I had forgotten about this part of your story. But
Hmm.
I remember it now that you're
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
me, but I had totally forgotten. Oh, this is so powerful. This trusting in yourself, this risk of leaving,
Yep.
right? You left, which you knew there was risks involved in leaving the United States, right?
Oh, yeah, let's also say because I couldn't be gone for more than a year or I would lose my green card.
Yeah.
Also, that was gonna be questionable at the border when I came back, like, "Why were you gone for so many months?"
Yeah. Yeah. It was a huge risk.
Yep.
But I love that you like, oh, this is so amazing. And it's really interesting because I do some of these same things in my own life, but hearing you say it about your story kind of like reminds me that sometimes my own story to others sounds more powerful than it does to yourself, to myself. Do you ever feel that way? Like
Yeah.
when you tell your story to someone else, you're like, oh no, that's actually pretty, yeah, it's pretty cool that I did that. But you just like, well, that's just my life and that's who I am, right?
Mhm,
You're nodding
mhm.
your head for
It's
those
like
that
I
are
do these
listening.
crazy things all the time, so I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is just normal." Other people are like, "You did what?"
Yeah, yeah, totally. I my last podcast episode, well, I don't know when this one's going to come out, but anyway, it was an episode like 118, and I recorded an episode about how we put our house up on the market in like a week, sold it firm in 10 days, and then the week from Saturday to Saturday, we actually found and bought a new house, no conditions, and firmly bought within
Wow.
7 days of
Wow,
selling our
wow, wow.
house.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, yes, I mean, obviously, like, because, when you sell your house first and you don't have a place to go, it's like people are like,
Mhm.
it's freaking scary. But I just kept thinking, I was like, but I'm not like, we're going to have a home.
Yep.
Like, I don't, there's not going to be a situation where my family's not going to have a place to live.
Mhm, mhm.
Right. And
I
it's
love that.
right. Cause I just like knew that would, I never, of course, I never expected it to happen so fast. And you had a year, but it happened in 7 months.
Mhm.
Right? It's
Yep.
amazing. This part of your story is so powerful to me because it's this part where so many people get stuck because they're just afraid of the what if.
Mhm.
And you said, well, if I don't, then what if, right? You went the other way.
Mhm.
Oh, amazing. So you get back to the States, detox market goes tip top, you're rocking it.
Yep.
You meet the love of your life, and you're like, still not quite being authentically me.
Mhm. It's like there was still always this piece of me that wasn't coming out, and it's interesting because I ended up bouncing around then after that quite a few jobs, other like retail jobs or wellness jobs. So I went from the detox market to Sage, which is a Canadian company. How funny. I was running their store. It became also the number one store. So I was like, I was pretty good at this retail thing, but I didn't love it. I knew that wasn't what like I had always dreamed of. Then I started working for a company for Sigmatic, which is also
Mm.
all internal wellness, beautiful. Then went to a company called Vegan Cuts, vegan, beauty, snacks, food, all the things. So I was working these jobs that were great, like with wellness companies, with health companies, which aligns completely with my values and everything I believed in. Yet it's like I knew I was a powerful leader. I knew I was meant for more. I knew I was meant to do more. So really it took shutting everything down, actually being void of distractions and this magical life of travel, which I had embarked on while being here with my boyfriend. Well, everything shuts down. Now I'm forced to be at home. And it's like, well, I only have kind of me, myself, and I. What is it that you're going to do here? And it's like, yeah, go after what you've been feeling pulled to do for like 7 or 8 years. Like it literally took me almost 8 years to actually start doing the damn thing and start building a coaching business and coaching people and taking that turn in my life.
Oh, yes, the gifts of the pandemic. I think it's important in so many ways that we recognize, right? We're here because the podcast is called Wake Up It's Gratitude. And the ability to find the gifts in the extremely difficult times that we all go through, pandemic or no pandemic. I mean, life is not, you said, like one of the things that you went through before, you met your ex-husband, is you went through a really toxic, abusive relationship, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that. So the pandemic's not your first challenge. And it's, I mean, this is nobody's first challenge. It's just a very different one. And finding a gift and finding gratitude is unbelievable, because you could have, again, Ashley, you could have gone the other way.
Yep.
No
Yep.
job, no money. You could have gone downhill.
Mhm.
Okay. So then tell me, how on earth did you like take the leap? Because from what I remember at that time, you decided to invest financially in becoming a coach, and not
Mhm.
just like a couple $1,000s. You went all in.
Mhm.
How did you
Well,
do that? Oh my gosh.
yeah, interestingly enough, Jen Groover, who I mentioned from USANA, who I would watch speak on stage and read her books and watch her online, ended up visiting Los Angeles a few times. And it was June or July 2019. So, right before everything shut down, she was here and we met up for a coffee. And in that moment, I was like, I'm ready. I basically just looked at her and was like, I'm ready. I want you to coach me. I want to do what you do. How can you help me? And she said, well, I've just come out with a method called the More Method. I can take you under my wing. I can teach you the method, yada, yada, yada. I said, I'm all in. Like, I didn't even care how much it cost, literally. And she told me the price, and I thought it was like tens of thousands more. And I was like, okay. And she's like, Ashley, no, 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 it's not that much. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought for a moment that I was going to have to like take out a massive loan, figure this out. But I was like, either way, I was prepared to do it because I'm all in. So she taught me her method, and still I didn't know how to grow a business. So from that was like July 2019 to June 2020, I didn't have a business. I was working with this More method that Jen had taught me. I was crafting this beautiful presentation based off of the More method. I was trying to package it and turn it into a business, but I had never run an online business. I had never run my own business. So I had no idea what in the hell I was doing. And so I, again, just started diving deeper and deeper into the personal development as I had been for years, and started this time looking at business coaches and business mentors. And there was this man, James Wedmore, who I really loved how he spoke. And he seemed to really know how to run a business because he was running a highly successful business. And he had come out with this program, Business by Design. And in that moment, I was like, I don't have $1 to my name from my business yet at this point. I had those jobs that I was working, which were paying me, but this business was not a business. And this was like just over a $3,000 investment for this. And I said, I feel like I need to do this. And my boyfriend thought I was a bit crazy. He's like, I don't know. And I said, trust me, like, just trust me. Again, one of those moments of like, just watch, just watch, just watch. So I enrolled in this program. The next day, I got my first two paying clients for one on one coaching the next day after I signed up for that program. It's no
That's
coincidence.
No, it's definitely not a coincidence
Mm-mm.
when we make big moves. We invest when we can't invest, right? Like that for me is always, I find I've been in business for 15 years, and I find when there's a moment where a course feels aligned and I'm scared because I don't have the money right then in that moment, I'm like, okay, no, we need to look at this right now, because if money were not an issue, were not an object, would you take this course? Would you invest
Mm-hmm.
that money? And then what do? We figure it out.
Yep.
We figured out a
Yep.
way to make it work and then invest. So you invest in this course. How long was the course?
Oh gosh, it could take me through my whole lifetime.
Oh, okay. So it's like
it's
continue.
it's it's massive. It's the most massive comprehensive business program. And so it
Wow.
really got me to do my first launch, which was a masterclass, a paid masterclass. And it had the whole system and the whole structure that I needed to get through this first launch of a paying offer. And it was beautiful. And I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've kind of figured out this marketing thing and this internet marketing thing and the social media game. And it all seemed to be working really well. But as a woman who's always seeking more and who's always seeking to become even better, even better, even better, I was like, ooh, what else could I learn? Like, how else could I grow? So that was literally just the starting point, the gateway into all of the other things and programs and mentors that I then began to dive deep into, because I'm never here for just the normal path or the normal growth. I'm here for the exponential growth, for the exponential results. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep this going and I'm going to keep following what I feel pulled and what I feel called to. So there's been so much more that I've done since that.
Yeah, I noticed that you've become an expert in human design.
Yeah.
So, what led you can you explain, just for those who might not be aware, exactly what that means? What is human design?
Mhm. It's basically, in the most layman's terms, like your internal blueprint. It's a science of differentiation. So, based off of the time you were born, where you were born, the date that you were born, each of us have a different makeup. So, it tells you different ways in which you have energies available to you, sort of what your design is, and how it really could serve you to guide yourself, like different ways of being and different ways of navigating life to feel a lot more effortless. And it kind of brings you back home, I like to say, when you feel in tune with your design. It's like, that's why that seemed so hard before. That's why this feels so easy. It's kind of like your blueprint at time of birth as to the energetics that you have inside of you.
Oh, that's
So
so cool.
I love it.
Okay, so but Ashley, can't I just like do an online test to find out what my human design is?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's where I started too, right? And I had someone send me my blueprint and she sent me my design. This was about 2 years ago. I just was kind of interested in it. And I was like, okay, I'm a manifester. Interesting. What does this all mean? And I would kind of reference the guide every now and again. And in true Ashley's fashion, last year I was just talking with some friends and someone mentioned human design. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have my chart. I have this guide from someone. And she said, you should check out this other woman. And the moment I went to this woman's Instagram page, I was like, oh, I want to learn from her. Like, I really want to dive deeper into this. So I went into a mentorship to be able to do human design readings, which started last year. And I loved it so much that I was like, I want to go even deeper. So now I'm immersed in a 9-month human design like coach certification program.
Oh, wow, so cool. And I think I'm being a little bit facetious. Like, of course, I mean, there's so many things. You can do your Enneagram online.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can do all personality, all this stuff online and get a thing that says this is whatever, who you are. And that's fine, but that's not really very necessarily useful information, especially when you're looking to build a business, right? Having that
Mhm.
deep information and that guidance is really important. I want to point out something that I've noticed about you as we're talking
Yeah.
is that you are not afraid to seek out mentors.
Mm-mm.
So tell me a little bit about why would someone be why is it important that we're seeking mentors and we have the courage to ask someone for that help or for that guidance?
hmm I just got so fired up about this yesterday, actually. So it's perfect because I like to reference your current situation, anyone's current situation. So, say you're living with a partner, or you have a group of friends, or you live with your family or nearby your family, and you're kind of the odd one out, as a lot of entrepreneurs are, right? They're the ones with the big ideas, the big dreams, the big goals. And often a lot of people don't understand that unless they're also entrepreneurs. So, if you don't have a coach or a mentor or a guide, you're kind of going through your day to day with you as your own cheerleader, your own guide, your own mentor, and you're having to really have that self drive, self motivation, self encouragement to do the things that you want to do. But the influences around you might be thinking you're a little bit crazy, thinking this is kind of too much, thinking that you should go back and get a normal job, yada, yada, yada. When you are in a relationship with a coach, a mentor, a guide, it allows you to sync up to that energy and to realize, like, oh, it is kind of normal to do these things. Oh, there are other people doing these things as well. And the coach, the mentor, the guide has probably gone through the things that you're going through in this moment and gotten to the other side. And so if you want to get similar results, it's like, oh, well, that person was where I am right now. And now they're on the other side. So I could try to figure this out on my own. And, you probably will figure it out on your own. It just might take longer. It might be a little bit more frustrating. You might get a little bit more annoyed. But if you have the help of someone who's already been through it, it's like, oh, wow, that happened so much faster than I could have ever thought. This was so much more easier. This was more fun because I had someone in my corner who wanted to celebrate me and who understood what I was doing and who supported me. It's like, how often do we really have those people in our lives who get those things that we're doing as entrepreneurs, like who fully, completely gets it and is also going through it at the same time?
Yeah, that totally has a really good way of understanding like what a mentor and a coach can be. And a mentor or coach can be someone you pay to work with, someone you learn from their free stuff. Maybe they have, like me, they have a podcast you can listen to. You can follow them on Instagram. Sometimes you can hire people for one-on-one coaching. Sometimes you hire, like you said, for the group programs.
Mhm.
There's so many different ways to approach it. And the hardest thing to do is often just to ask. Like you said, you just asked someone on Instagram, you saw what she was doing, you wanted to learn from her. And I say, go for it, take the leap, because you never know. Often, maybe they don't list that as a service or something that they offer, but if you just ask,
Yeah.
right? If you ask
Oh.
with good intention and with Ashley energy of, well, let me show you. Just like, give me a chance here, right?
Oh gosh, like one of my life mottos is just ask. I literally ask for everything that I want, everything and anything. I will ask the craziest of things. I'll be like, well, I'm just going to ask.
And it's interesting because I was listening to another podcast where another amazing female entrepreneur and musician was saying the same thing. She just asks, ask, and ask. Asking doesn't mean you're always going to get exactly what you want. But if
Hmm.
you never ask,
Yeah.
you're for sure not going to get anything.
The craziest thing is I usually always get what I want, but that's just
That's
because I align with the
amazing.
energetics behind it. But it's pretty incredible. I usually just, again, that knowing it's like, this feels really good. It feels like something that I want to ask. I always come with good intentions. And I think that's
Right.
why I usually do always get what I want, because it's like, there's no manipulation here. There's no me like trying to cheat a system. It's just like, I feel good about this. The intention feels so good. It's very pure. And so I'm going to ask. And then usually I get it.
Well, and even like when you think about it, when you asked for the job in LA and he said no, but he then offered you something else and you're
Yep.
like, I'm open.
Yep.
Right. Yes. Because your real goal was to get back to LA.
I didn't
So
care what job it was.
exactly. Very cool. Ashley, you are so bright. You are so bubbly. You have such beautiful energy. And I know that gratitude plays a really big role in your life. Can you share with us a little bit about what gratitude means to Ashley?
Oh my gosh, yes. So my gratitude for me is the catalyst for abundance. And I believe that I have such an abundant life because I choose to focus on gratitude so much. And it's really reveling in everything that I have, because even the smallest things are so beautiful and I'm so grateful for. And I will never take anything for granted in my life. And then as a result, when I focus more on gratitude, it's like, more beauty shows up, more things show up. It's so crazy, this correlation between gratitude and abundance. And I really am so thankful for every single thing that happens to me, because I either see it as a lesson, as a blessing, as an opportunity. It's like I can always see so much deeper than the face value of whatever it is that shows up in my life.
And do you think you've always been like this, or was this something you learned? No.
No, I haven't. Absolutely not. And my family, it's so interesting because my family really only knew me, I would say, or even still might see me as the person that I was, say, 15 or so years ago, because I was so different. I kind of reference it as I was asleep. I didn't really know what I was
Mm.
here to do, who I was, what I wanted. Like, I was really kind of a bratty child who was into all the superficial things growing up, and that's just kind of how I lived my life. And I would complain and I would judge, and I wasn't at all who I am now. It's really this transformation that's happened over like the last 10 years. It actually all started with food for me, which is interesting, but I felt better transitioning to a plant-based diet. And from there, I just went on this quest to find out more on how I could feel better and how I could grow as a human, in terms of my mind, my body, my spirit. And from there, a gratitude practice started to develop.
Oh, I love that. What a wonderful way to come to a gratitude practice through food and lifestyle changes. I adore
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Ashley, we could talk all afternoon. Honestly, I
I know.
really miss you, and I'm so glad
Yeah.
we're doing this and we get to share our conversation with our audience. I imagine that there will definitely be people who want to learn how they can work with you after listening to the podcast. So, what are the ways that you work with your clients?
Yes, I have a whole lot of ways. I love to do many things, but right now I have one on one coaching, which is obviously my favorite. I also have a few programs running depending on when you're listening to this podcast. I'm sure I will have a program either running or almost running where I love to teach in a group format. I do that live. And I also do one off soulful strategy sessions, I like to call them. So, this is where we dive deep into your human design, into your business, into your lifestyle, and really kind of get a quick start to the transformation that you want to have.
Ooh, it sounds like I need one of those deep dive into
They're
my
so
human design. I'm
awesome.
very excited.
Yeah.
And I know you like to hang out on Instagram a lot. So, what's your Instagram handle?
It's Ashley's, so ASHLEYS dot light
Okay, perfect. And your website?
is ashleyslight.com.
Perfect. So I'll make sure all the links are posted for everyone so they can connect with you. Ashley, thank you so much for this beautiful, wonderful story full of wisdom and just beautiful ways that we can really manifest our lives and live truly as who we are meant to be on this planet at this moment in time. I adore you. Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.